So welcome to our 5th edition of MarTech in Focus, the webinar series of iundf marketing technology on Switzerland's hottest MarTech platforms. Today we're going to speak about virtual events and present you the platform of SpotMe, a true pioneer in digitizing events and in the market for about 20 years. So I welcome today Pierre Metrailler with me. He's the CEO of SpotMe and our guest today. Pierre joined SpotMe in 2001 and became their CEO in 2016. Under Pierre's leadership, SpotMe became the leading event app and virtual event platform. Pierre holds a master's in communication systems from the EPFL in Lausanne and is also a graduate of INSEAD. My name is Urs Blickenstorfer and I'm the founder and CEO of iundf marketing technology. We help clients onboard and implement all kinds of marketing technology and help them to create unique client experiences. This webinar will take about 30 minutes, and after a short intro by myself, Pierre will take over and jump into their platform and show you how its features help you provide unique digital experiences. Please post any questions you have on the right-hand side. We will have a Q&A session at the end, and we'll go through them and have a discussion. So yeah, please interact, please take part in this discussion. So let me quickly go into the topic. So as usual, let's start by having a look on the Swiss MarTech landscape super graphic. After we have focused on advertising and promotions, conversational marketing and marketing analytics in previous shows, we now delve into the area of events, meetings, and webinars. SpotMe is really a pioneer in this sector, not only in Switzerland actually, but globally, and is one of the few true global players of the Swiss MarTech scene. And before Pierre will tell you more about their product, let me share with you some, my views on that specific sector. Obviously, we live in very special times at the moment. And not surprisingly, the number of organizations planning virtual events doubled this year. Based on recent research, virtual events will actually grow tenfold over the next decade, actually becoming moving from a $78 billion to a $780 billion market. So the majority of conferences and exhibitions and corporate events and seminars, music performances, you name it, will somehow rely on virtual event technology. And for the foreseeable future, many of the ones physical events will take place on a laptop in attendees' home and not in large conference centers. So the aim must be to keep the engagement level high of your customers nevertheless. So let me show you some great recent examples. The first one I would like to share with you is Tomorrowland Festival. This electronic music festival delivered a massive virtual music festival. The festival featured artists performing on virtual stages in front of thousands of fans on a virtual 3D island. There were special effects, fireworks, laser shows, and much more, just like an actual music festival, actually. They built a web-based experience and have been really pushing the boundaries of what can be effectively done in a web browser. The biggest challenge, next to the enormous technical challenges, of course, was making sure that the festival visitors will be able to feel that they're being part of something larger. An example I personally liked most was the NBA restart in Orlando. It was basically a hybrid event. The players were playing on the court as they always do, but the spectators weren't allowed. So the NBA was giving the fans the opportunity to watch games while being projected on in-arena video boards for players, coaches, and anyone tuning in around the world to see. This virtual fan experience is created using Microsoft Teams Together mode, which uses AI segmentation technology to bring people together into a shared background. There were also DJs around and announcers were on site to replicate the sounds that teams and viewers are used to experience in a live event. There was also functionality to digitally cheer for a team through the NBA app, through NBA.com and Twitter using team hashtags. Those cheers are then portrayed on an in-area video board via graphics and animations to really capture the level and engagement around the world. Another great example is the Salesforce World Tour. I'm sure many of you know that it has a fixed date in many of you guys' agenda for the last couple of years. They have come to all major cities around the world presenting their latest inventions. So this one now totally had to move digitally, and it was such a success. They had over 80,000 live streams and over 1.2 million video views through their social channels that they've actually decided to stop the physical event for good, also for the future, and only remain digital. So here you can really see a big conferences that had an established track record stopping to happen physically and only go digital. So overall, the need is clearly there for digital events, but implementation is somewhat lagging behind. Virtual events pose some challenges for companies. Only about a quarter of all companies were so far able to pivot their events into the digital sphere in a profitable manner. So what are the key roadblocks here? I think engagement remains high, and to remain engagement high, this is one of the key challenges. For many planners, the virtual event experience is not quite up to par with the live counterpart, and many struggle to ensure the same levels of attendance as well. And there are other problems like tech knowledge and getting sufficient sponsorships as well. And here we see already one key problem is financing, because virtual events are just not yet as profitable as their traditional counterparts. And I'm sure Pierre will also touch upon this point because engaging sponsors in a virtual sphere is a difficult but doable job, and we'll see about that in a minute. So what are the key aspects you have to look at when you run your digital events? I think key thing is really engage with data. Data management, and the main challenge here is actually data collection. You need efficient data collection that really facilitates lead creation in the end, and it's not only relies on mere registration data. For me personally, personalization is a key factor, because it actually allows each attendee to get exactly what they need from the event. And there are so many ways to achieve this. For instance, virtual breakout sessions, giving attendees a chance to choose from different breakout sessions and hence creating their own adventure track. You can use data-driven recommendations to make activity and topic suggestions based on profiles and networks, or with a personalized follow-up that is more engaging and effectively prolonging the impact of a successful event. Last but not least, networking. One of the main reasons physical events actually still happen, if it wasn't for that, they would have probably been gone quite a while ago. Meeting people in person that you've only spoken to on the phone or have only written email, adds so an important layer to any relationship. And, the world still needs handshakes. And that's why I personally feel, there is big power in physical events. But however, networking can also be, done efficiently virtually on a different level, and sometimes actually easier, because at a physical event, especially at fairs, we often actually avoid eye contact, with some overambitious salespeople, and, and we're kind of hiding between data sheets and, just because, we don't want to speak at the moment, or we're not ready yet to engage. And at the virtual event, you can do that at your speed. You can engage when you want, engage when you're ready to. And I think this is actually quite a cool feature. But still, it's about true and real engagement that remains the biggest challenge in virtual events. And there are some no-brainers everyone should do when you come up with a virtual event. Obviously, you need to have compelling content, you need to have a good production quality, you need to have engagement facilities, live polling, push notification, and so forth. But you can also be a bit more creative, implement gamifications or, happy hours or whatever you can think of. There are many things, and I'm sure Pierre will, touch upon that, because I think this will just create so much more more engagement. You need to offer something more than just the content. And last but not least, and this is the last point I want to make, is sustainability. This is a key topic for many companies nowadays. And virtual events, obviously, they produce only a fraction of the carbon dioxide or the carbon footprint physical events do. And even if the reasons for moving digital were totally different ones, it's still a good point to make, and maybe also to communicate to some of your stakeholders. So that's all for me, and I'm now very happy to hand over to Pierre, and I think he's joining us from Lausanne. So let's see whether we can get Pierre on the line. Hi, Pierre.
Hi, Urs. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Okay, very good, very good. Yes, I'm indeed joining from beautiful Lausanne, and I'm actually very excited to be a guest on a Zurich podcast, because one of the things is that although the company was founded in Lausanne, is actually a spin-off from the EPFL. Our original founder actually had the idea in Zurich. He was a student he was studying like German literature in Zurich. And he talked to this idea of doing SpotMe with his roommate in his WG in Zurich at the time. And this guy was actually heading to Lausanne as a PhD student. And that's how they both actually moved to Lausanne. And that's how the original idea of the company started. And actually, three of my original co-founders are actually Swiss Germans. They're no longer with the company, but yeah, good to be, also extending our reach to Zurich as well. Great. So I think one of the things that we have seen, and this is truly an exciting time. To give you a sense of what we're seeing at SpotMe is that we are seeing a big acceleration. The demand for products for virtual event platforms that you have shared today is about 50x. It's about 50 times what we used to see in, say, January and February. And of course, a lot of it is actually related to COVID. A lot of people wanted to have their events and their conferences hosted, and they couldn't, right? So the first thing they did is like, hey, let's try a solution. Let's see what we can do online. A lot of people used Zoom at first, right? That was the quick fix. And then when they used Zoom, people say, well, Zoom is good, it works, but it's a little bit dull. So let's try other things. Let's use webinars like we're doing today. And webinar was the next sort of destination. And what we've seen now is that the market is demanding more and more. And the market wants what we call cloud engagement platforms, which is sort of a placeholder ranging from Zoom to webcast, live streaming, and what we call virtual hubs, which are sort of enhanced website that incorporate both the live streaming and the content component. And so this is a little bit where we're coming from. So just to give you a bit of a history at SpotMe, for context, founded in 2000, spin-off from EPFL. We actually started as a hardware startup. We actually launched at HSG at the St. Gallen Symposium. I think it was in May 2001. And we actually had little devices that would help people connect with each other, and hence the name SpotMe. So the goal originally was, let's create a lot of value for participants, and that was something new, because people didn't care about participants. They only wanted to give value to sponsors or give value to the organizer. The participant was just here to pay and to consume. And so this was the revolutionary idea, that you have to empower your participants, and actually the value is the engagement you get out of it. And in 2011, we actually flipped the business model. We dropped hardware altogether. We launched a SaaS platform, which we have now. And actually in 2015, we had our biggest customer. It's one of the largest pharmaceutical company in the world, based in Basel, who actually, their CEO found out about what's the cost of meetings and events. And he actually went and asked for like a detailed study, like how many meetings and events are we running in this big pharma company? And the answer, it's funny because the answer is always the same for large companies. It's always, it costs you 2% of your revenue. So if your revenue is, let's say, 60 billion, you can imagine, what does that look like? And when he's made a math of those hundreds of millions in cost for events, there was this big decision, like, let's move to virtual as much as possible. And that's actually how we built a virtual event platform back then. It was never really popular. It was actually about 5% of our revenue. And suddenly it became very popular in March, and we've actually put all our chips on it right now. And what is going to happen is that people will, of course, go back to in-person events, but it will, in my opinion, it will always have some sort of online audience, right? And this is what we're going to be seeing. And I think for marketers, for all the marketers that are following us or that are watching us, this is a priority that needs to be top of your agenda for the rest of 2020, and especially going into 2021. If you were organizing in-person events, think, how can you extend your reach? Think about hybrid, think about online plus in-person at the same time. People have done this now. It works beautifully. So enough talk. One thing that I wanted to tell you also is I've actually, last week, I've actually met with 20 CMOs, 20 chief marketing officers of companies around Lausanne and Geneva. These are companies between, I think, 5 to 50 million of revenue, high growth companies. And we did a quick intro, and they didn't know what I was doing. And they all say the same thing. They said, we are not generating enough leads because we are not able to run events. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, because usually I heard that events are great, but it's hard to measure. But now that events are gone, it seems that people are upset. Salespeople are upset because we're not generating enough leads. And they said, we tried webinars, we tried these different things, we tried Zoom, but people don't really want to join, or they drop off, and so what we are seeing is a new wave of digital selling, which is coming, of course, due to COVID, but also is going to stay because now it's becoming a habit. So a new digital selling trend. And this is actually even before COVID, because most of the B2B, especially in B2B, most of the B2B buyers, so if you have expensive stuff to sell, like a big chunk of software, for example, that you want to sell, or a big machine, right, that you want to sell in B2B, when you go and ask a B2B buyer, they will tell you, 60% of them will tell you, if I don't have to talk to your salesperson, I think it'd be best, right? And so we have this thing where habits have changed. B2B buyers are becoming more like B2C, like consumers. And at the same time, suddenly we have this push due to COVID to online. And then people are like, but that's what I really wanted. I want to interact with your brand. I like going to your event, but I don't really want to talk to a salesperson. I think you mentioned that earlier, Urs, and so this is one of the things that we are seeing. So here we go. Enter SpotMe. We are an end-to-end platform for launching, managing, running your events, and we provide you with all the tools to create a website, to create a mobile app, to create a social network, to create live streaming, and also to create a community. And so with this, I think I can quickly jump into a quick demo and to show you a little bit how this works. And for those who are listening, our sweet spot is with B2B companies, essentially, again, people who have expensive stuff to sell. And they actually want, if it's expensive, before you sell, you need to build trust. And to build trust, you need to build a relationship. And it's only when you've advanced in that relationship that you can go into sales mode. And events historically have been like one of the best ways to accelerate that trust, the trust building. And so now that they don't do this face to face, they can do this through online events, but these events need to have a special source. So let's see what it looks like. All right. So am I sharing my screen? Not yet. Okay, cool. So here we go. I'm going to show you the least exciting thing to start with, and this is my inbox. Okay, so if anyone who is watching us wants to take care of those, 6600 email, be my guest. But what I did just get is actually, that's my invitation to this online event that we're doing just now, right? So Urs, you and I have just launched this. And so everyone gets their personalized invite, and we're going to get back to like how you can, get more people. But first I need to access. And so here I am, welcome. And that's my Impact Professional Conference. And here we go. So that's my virtual event platform. And this is where, let's assume we are 1 week before your event. Just like you're running your webinar, you're probably launching reminders. And so this is a way for you to engage with your audience, right? At this point, they may not have decided, am I really going to spend half an hour with Urs, on Tuesday afternoon? And so this is my branded application. And the first thing you'll notice is that it actually looks like Facebook. It has its own social feed. And you know what? That's what we want, right? We don't want people to think we're here to sell you stuff. We are here to make it fun. We're here to make it engaging. We're here for you to make, new friends and new relationships. And yes, we're going to talk about our product. But the most important thing is that you learn and you connect with people. Okay. And so people will sort of start browsing, and then, you can host any type of resources. And I don't need to say this, but our platform is very much like WordPress. We like to describe it like this is WordPress for online events. So all the things that you see here, themes, functionality, menu items, all these things can be removed, changed, customized, tailored. And the functionality here can be adjusted depending on what you need. Okay, so pre-event, people are already going to engage, right? So I may say, hey, Urs, what's this guy from Lausanne you've invited? And then you may want to stay anonymous for that question. So you can start asking stuff, and then, you can even trigger push notifications to start engaging and say, hey, things like, what do you want to hear? What are your priorities? So you would have this pre-event feedback that we've set up here. Do you want to learn something new? My key objective is to learn how to make a virtual event, and then I'll respond. That would help you as the organizer build up your topic, build up your content in a little bit more accurate way. All right, now it's event day, and I'm actually logging in during event day. And what's happening is that I joined 2 minutes late, and this is what's going on. What is a keynote, right? And a keynote is, of course, someone talking, presenting slides. And then probably very quickly, we're going to go to the next session. Okay, before that, we're going to have a panelist asking us polling questions. And actually, as you see, at the same time, what we see is that we've got people asking other questions. And I may say, hey, I may just ask my question here, and questions are fully moderated. Now we're moving into a roundtable, and at the same time, what's interesting is I can actually see who else is watching this. And this is the first thing, right? You talked about networking. I'm just watching a live stream here, but then suddenly I can see who else. I've got Kylie, who is actually one of our salesperson, who's probably running a demo with a customer now, and she is in Boston. So I could, connect with Kylie and say, hey, I can exchange a business card, send her a quick message, and actually I can do a lot more, networking activities here. I can still browse this. I can still have my virtual content here, my virtual session going on here, or I can just discard it altogether. But I can see all the people participating, and because usually you have thousands, if not 10,000 of people, and that's, by the way, one thing we've noticed, you get 10 times more participants to your online event compared to your in-person event. So imagine the reach and how many more leads you can do, right? But for this, you need people to join and have a real incentive to join. And one of the incentives is here, you're going to make connections. Now, how do you connect with 10,000 people? So we have this matchmaking module here, where basically so here it recommends that I should be talking to Antoine, who is our top sales guy. So I want to avoid him actually, but I can configure some of the reasons why am I here. I want to learn, I want to stay up to date, and then based on that, this is how I'm going to have my matches here, right? And at the same time, content continues. And just going back actually to the live stream, One thing you mentioned, one example I really, really liked earlier is you talked about the NBA and how the NBA was doing. They had this NBA bubble. I think you call it the restart, if I'm not mistaken. And we love this. I really love this example for a very simple reason. When we developed this, I was also running this thing from home, and I realized as a speaker, it was so boring because I couldn't like feel if people were connecting with us, would actually listen what I was saying. And so we've added this clap, which is exactly like the cheer function that you had, that you talked about during the NBA. And you can actually see other people clapping. We've got just Kylie and myself watching the stream here. But when you run this with 50, 500 or 50,000 people, you see those claps going on. And as a speaker, it's actually really cool because you can see emotions from the audience. And then as you have questions coming in, you can actually push those live, and you can even have you can have several questions, you can stream them, and you can really manage your audience. You can run polls, and that's the way to keep them engaged. Because let's pause here for a second. Your priorities when you're running an online event is very simple. It should be get more people to show up. It's to get less people to drop off, and it's actually to get more conversions in a sense of feedback response, signups, or leads that are being generated. So speaking of that, I'm going to show you one thing that we do a lot. I'm just going to change this to a demo. By the way, quick plug for us, and I know we've got a little time left. A quick plug for us, you can go to spotme.com or spotme.de, wherever you're located, and you can say, try now, and you can actually try. You have a live demo of the app, and then in this live demo of the app, there's one functionality I wanted to share. It's actually, I know you guys had a webinar session on conversation marketing. We've actually included that. So it's got its own native chatbot in there, which is a perfect way to actually create engagement, but also call to actions that then turns into leads that are pushed to your salespeople. Okay, one last thing, or maybe not, maybe we've got two more last things. One thing, you talked about personalization. This platform is the perfect place to personalize. So if you think about, this is the backend, by the way, where you can configure all the content and with all the analytics and very deep analytics. That's the beauty of online events. You can see, you can literally see what people are doing and if they're really watching you. But what you also want to do is that you may want to personalize, for example, the menu. You may want to personalize the session. You can actually choose, anything that you display. You can actually set a specific target for that to be visible. So for example, here, right, we've got a certain targeting option here, where in this case, we can choose, a new condition. And that session, for example, could perhaps only be shown to people who live in Zurich, for example, and that would be like the Zurich Marketer Corner, which would be which would be one of the ways to personalize your content. Okay, I'm just watching the clock, Urs. I can talk forever about our stuff here, but I also want to be respectful of your time. So I'll leave you to with question time, or if there was something else you wanted to explore.
Yeah, maybe we have time for questions, so people just come in. I have one, so please, the listeners, just post your question on the chat. I have a question here. With all these functionalities and engagement and tools for engagement, isn't there a danger that people wouldn't consume the actual content of the events because they're just so busy playing around?
I think you've got to be very clear. And we have this question, and it often gets into a problem. You've got to be very clear, what are you trying to do? If you think this is like a content marketing platform where you're dumping all your slides and all your collateral and basically all the stuff that most people don't actually read, I don't think you should be running a virtual event. I think you should be sending emails and perhaps do a website. Running a virtual event is, in our opinion, a way to build your brand. Mm-hmm. It should be very much like a TV show. It's actually a mix of a podcast, a TV show, an event, a webinar, and Facebook all together, right? So the content is the interaction, right? What people are doing, the questions they're asking, and all this, the user generated content is actually the content people are excited about. I don't think they're going to be excited by your PDF. Sorry, no matter how nice your PDF is going to look like. So of course, if your content, if we don't create enough engagement, there's a risk that people would do it by themselves. But I think that's the goal. It's the dream if people don't actually spend too much time with your content, because what's important is that they spend time with your brand, right? And your brand is all over the place here. And so that should be your priority.
No, that's cool. So there's a question. So one person said that he worked for the ISC symposium early 2000, and he remembered the device. Was it called Shark Tooth? Was it that?
This is so funny. The company was called Shockfish. Oh, it's so funny because it's not Shark Tooth, but it's not far from it. Yeah. The company was called Shockfish. The product was always called SpotMe, and we renamed the company a few years ago because it was confusing to have both.
But at least
someone with a very good memory.
20 years ago, a hardware device. So obviously all this will be recorded. You will have ample questions. So I want to just quickly, go to the end here. Thank you so much, Pierre. It was really great having you. As I said, we will share the presentation and with the people in the follow-up. I just want to make sure that announce the next episode, which will be in German again. Maybe we'll switch to English, I don't know, but for the time being, the next one will be in German. It will be on November 18th. And with Friendly, it's a Swiss-based marketing automation platform, actually based on open source technology for mounting. It's really cool. It's got a very interesting pricing, so especially also for medium-sized enterprises, a very cool marketing automation platform. I've just started really to look deep into it. Very powerful, yet not so pricey, so definitely a good show. Please register today. Just click on the yellow button and be part of the show in November. So thanks all of you for joining in. Hope to see you again soon, and stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.